All right, can everybody see my screen?
No, it has not come up yet.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it's come up now.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
up now.
Okay. All right. So like I said earlier on, tonight we'll be talking about creating reports. And then we would be covering some few areas. But before we start, please, because of the recording, please let's stay muted, yeah, so that we don't distract other people, and so that we don't disrupt the recording also for people that will listen to it later on. And then if you can just keep our videos off. Still all about distractions also. So yeah, okay, so we'll have I'll just give a brief overview of what we'll be doing. We'll be looking at the meaning of a report. What does a report mean? A Scrum Master, what does a report mean in Agile generally? What do we use it for? Why do we need it? And then we'll also look at the content. What do you have in your who needs to have that report? Who are you preparing the report for? And then we'll be able to look at a sample of reports. So it will not just be for Scrum Masters. We'll look at a report that can be generated by a Scrum Master. We'll look at a report also that can be generated by the ADM and the content. Talk about the contents that are in them. So that will be the overview of what we're doing this evening. Okay, so yeah, we're going to start off by looking at what is a sprint report, because the report we're talking about creating is a sprint report for what a Scrum Master will create, and then a status report for what an ADM will create. So we're looking at what is a sprint report. So it's just a summary document of what happened during the sprint or during the phase of a project. So you've just finished a sprint, like you've just finished, let me use your sprint 0 as an example. You've just finished your sprint 0. That sprint report will just be a summary of everything that happened during that sprint, the activities that happened during that sprint. And mainly is just a brief overview of the sprint. So we're not going into the full nitty-gritty of everything that happened in the sprint. We just be able to give a brief overview of the sprint activity. And by the time we get into the content and who the audience are, you understand why it's just a brief and not a full detail of what happened. So it gives a brief overview of the sprint or the phase of the project, depending if you are a Scrum Master or you are an ADM. And then, like I said, it just covers the main aspects, the basic aspects. It's a very straightforward report, because you don't want it to be too cumbersome for your audience that are going to read it. If it's too voluminous and all that, it would distract, it would not distract, but it would discourage them from reading it. And it's better to, put it in divided, manageable sections, for simplicity. So this aspect is just, this is the information, straight to the point information that you want to give and all that in that aspect. By the time we're looking at a sample, we'll have a better understanding, of what it should be. Normally, it shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 pages. Okay, so there is no standard number of pages. Depending on your project, depending on the audience of that report, helps you to know how many number of pages it should be. But like I said, it shouldn't be too voluminous, because if you are providing your report for a stakeholder, stakeholders don't have time. You're talking about head of department, you're talking about directors, they've got a lot of things to do. So by the time your report comes and is voluminous, maybe the secretary will be the person reading it at the end of the day, they won't go through it. And then the message you're trying to pass across, especially if you have an update, you need to pass across to them, will be lost, because you've made it so cumbersome for them to read it. And they'll come back and say, oh, we asked you for this, you didn't give us and all that. And you're wondering, is in my report? Didn't you say it in my report? But they're not able to see it because, like I said, it's just too much. They didn't go through it and all that. I'll tell you a funny thing that happened to me. I did a report. I finished the report and then I sent it through my line manager, to the stakeholders and everything. And this is me thinking, I have done, perfect reports. I've put everything the way it should be and all that and everything. And what the guy did, I did it in definitely a slide, and I sent it over and everything. I love what he did. He did comment on each slide for me, and anything he doesn't understand, he wasn't even asking in a nice way to say, sorry, can you explain what you're trying to say here? He just said, what is this? The next one he will go to it, what is this? The next one he will go to and when I saw it at first, I wanted to get a bit kind of angry, and then I thought, okay, so look at it from his own point of view. This is somebody who is not in my team, who might not understand some things I understand, some things that my team members understand. He is a stakeholder. Yeah, he doesn't understand all those nitty-gritty things that we understand. He doesn't even understand the technicality that I'm putting in that report. And this is me thinking I've given him a perfect report. So I had to go back and make it as simple as possible for him, straight to the point. What stakeholders want to hear, I had to take it, to that level for him and everything. Remove all the other one I just kept aside for my team. My team will understand that. And then I had to do the one a stakeholder will understand. Looking at it from, giving a report from your audience's point of view, not your point of view. Because if you do it from your point of view, like I did, it was too technical for him. He doesn't understand what I'm saying. He wanted to see that, okay, this thing that I said you people should deliver at so time, is it ready? What percentage of it is ready? What percentage is remaining? How are we going about, what is remaining? What are we going to do, to achieve that? I need this thing by this time and everything. That is what your stakeholder is after. Delivery. That is what they're after. I've asked for this. I want it by this timeline. Is it ready? If it's not ready, is it ready? Is it part of it that is not ready? And then you have to give a concrete reason why the part that is not ready is not ready. That's just by deciding. We'll get into it later on during, tonight and all that, just to give you a bit of what I was saying, that it has to be straight to the point. It has to be simple. It's a thing they can understand, not what you can understand. You need to communicate with it. And you're not communicating if you understand and the person you're passing the message to doesn't understand. So you're decoding, they can't, you're encoding, they can't decode what you've put down. So those are some of the things, that your report has to do about. Like I said, there's no standard number of pages, but the more you make it as simple as possible, reduce the number of pages, depending on the information again, the better for the person that is going to receive it, will be able to receive it. And they know that any report coming from this person, is straight to the point, is short and straight to what I want to get. And they'll be happy to receive it and to read it, rather than if it, becomes voluminous, like I said. So we're just going to look at the content that you have in your report. What are those things that are in your report? Okay, so for the sprint report, you want to put in your project name. Okay, so your audience has to know this document I'm looking at, this report I'm looking at, what project is it talking about. They have a lot of projects they are dealing with, and they just need one. So this one that has come is what project. So your project name has to be there, that let them understand what it's all about. You put your project name there. You put a sprint name there also. So if it's sprint 10, for example, you put it there. Your project name, if your project is Mentors Kid 1, you put it there. Remember that your project name is different from your team's name. So you don't want to be putting your team's name like Alpha there, things like that. You want to put the project name there, because that's what the stakeholder or your audience understands. And then, like I said, your sprint name has to be there. If it's sprint 0, if it's sprint 1, sprint 2, what sprint is it that you're talking about in that particular report? You want to put that there. Also, you want to put in there your sprint period. That sprint name, what period is it covering? Is it from October 3rd to October 15th and all that? You want to put that period there so that they know the period that they are, that report is talking about. And then you want to give also your sprint backlog items update. So your sprint backlog item is the list of all the items that you've committed to, that you've taken into the sprint. And when you're putting them there, please don't use the ID. Again, your audience don't understand the ID. You can put the ID, but make sure you have the title so that they understand that, okay, so these are the list of the things they've worked on. You know, like if you worked on the menu button, you worked on the logo, you worked on this, they will understand that they'll be able to relate to that the PO about to say, okay, these are the things we wanted and all that and everything. So they are able to see all those links, and you're giving updates on those things. You know, like I said, you're describing and then you're giving reports on them. The status for it, is it completed? Are any of them not completed? And then you put a reason for the non-completion one. Can just use another column to do comments, and they're able to put the comments there. Where were they not completed? You're able to put them there. And what your list, remember your list is the number of stories that you've taken into the sprints, which definitely is the requirement, what they've requested for that is what you're listing for them, and then they'll be able to see that information. Also, it's good to put this is not cast in stone. Okay, so not every sprint report will have this. We're just saying the basic things that you might find in sprint report. You're also able to put your team's capacity, especially if you're not being able to complete any of your story is based on capacity. If you put your team's capacity there and all that, your audience or the person reading the report is able to relate to it. We'll see how it is when we look at the story. So your team's capacity could be something like, okay, initially when you were planning for the sprint, you had let's assume you had 4 team members who were able to give their full capacity to say they'll be available throughout the sprint. And then at the end of the sprint, do you still have the same capacity? It's possible that either 1 or 2 people fell ill, they had emergency, they had to go, they had to leave work and all that, so they didn't finish. Maybe at the end of the day they didn't do they just did 1 week of sprint, they didn't do the other week of sprint. That information being there tells an audience or a stakeholder to know that, okay, one of the reasons why they didn't finish what they had to do was that they had limited capacity due to emergency. Okay, so that then help them to understand why you're committed to all those lists of backlog items, and then why you couldn't finish. It could be one of the reasons. It's not all, but once you put that information there, it helps, because then you're giving them concrete reason, part of why maybe you're not able to complete the sprint. Okay, also you're able to give the sprint highlights. What are those things that happened during that sprint? You're able to provide them also with those information. There could be anything, that happened during but the highlight of your sprint also, you're able to put it in there. If you have any issues, also you're able to put it there. Did you have some maybe technical issues during the sprint? Like your team members emergency also could be an issue on its own, why maybe the sprint was not completed, or you didn't achieve, let me put it that way, you completed the sprint but you didn't achieve the sprint goal or everything you committed to the sprint that you were going to do. And then you're able to show your metrics also. So what your metric does is to confirm the things that you've put in your report. So maybe part of your highlights, some of the things you've said in your highlights and all that, your metrics are able to show you. Your burn down charts are able to show, the percentage that were completed during the sprints and all that is able to show it. Your velocity charts also will tell you what was planned and what was completed at the end of the sprint. Another content you can have in your report, your sprint report, is the review feedback update. So let's assume that there's a particular time when the last sprint, the stakeholders gave some feedback, they wanted some adjustments and all that, and you did that in the just concluded sprint. You want to put those feedback updates there to say, okay, this you wanted to see, the last time we had a review for the the sprint review for the last sprint, we've adjusted it and all that, we've done it, is on the website. You might you might put a link to that particular thing there, so that when they click on it, they're able to go on the website and then they can see, what you've that feedback that you've action, they're able to see it also. And also you can put in also an overview of the next sprint. So that is saying that, okay, in the course of the next sprint, this is what we want to do. Are we carrying over some of the works we didn't finish this sprint? Are we carrying it over into the next sprint, and some other things that we're going to do in those sprints? You're able to put it there. All or let's say so the next sprint we're going into, these are the things that we're going to, focus on. So for that overview, it might not be nitty gritty again, just give them an overview. That's why we call it an overview and not a comprehensive, things of what you're going to do next sprint. So these are some of the content of a sprint report. Like I said, it's not cast in stone, depending on the project, depending on your audience. That is what determines what you do. But these are some of the basic ones that you will see in the sprint report that you provide at the end of your sprint. Okay, so quickly, we just want to look at a few of the content of a status report. I said it, like a sprint report is mainly for the one that the Scrum Master does, and that is different from what an ADM would do. So a Scrum Master is focusing mainly on that sprint, everything concerning that sprint, an overview of has just been completed. And ADM is focusing on an overview of a particular phase. Maybe your focus is on the quarter. So this quarter, this is what we're doing, all that. So for an ADM also, you can provide it's possible that you provide your status report at the end of the sprint. Okay, for me, I do that as an ADM work. I provide at the end of the sprint. But what I'm looking at is I look at it on the epic level. So the Scrum Master is providing information at the story level, the user story level. I provide every epic level. So these are the prioritized epic that we're working on. Last sprint, how have we done? What percentage has been completed and all that. The sprint, what percentage of those work has been completed? What is remaining? There is every possibility the whole epic that the stakeholders want completed. But at the end of a particular time, there's a timeline. So I'm providing my report for them concerning those features or the epic, depending on what is needed towards that timeline. I'm looking at it and I'm providing information for them to say, okay, is achievable by the end of that timeline. We'll be able to provide this for you. If it is not, I'm also giving them the information to say, as it is right now, based on some issues and all that, some risk or some issues and all that, we're not able to. So based on that, you're able to provide a status report for them. Also, you'll be looking at your project name, because like I said, your stakeholders might have more than one project. It's not just your project they're focusing on. So you need to provide them with the project name. So rather than the sprint name, you provide them with the phase name. So is it the second quarter that you're on? Is it the second quarter that you're talking about, the third quarter? I know that some uses phase, some uses quarter. So if it's a phase that is being used in your organization, you'll be able to say, oh, in this second phase that we're in, and then you provide them with the phase period. So normally your phase period would be 3 months. So you're saying between this time and this time, which is the time for this particular period and all that. And most times when you provide them with the phase period also, you're putting the date of your report there so that they know exactly where they are in that period, in that phase period that you're telling them. Okay, and then you'll also be able to give them project objective. Again, as I've said, these are not cast in stone. Okay, so this is not basically this is what it is. It's not fixed. Every organization is different, every project is different, and the audience also, like I said, depicts what you put in the reports that you're giving. But you give them the project objective. So what is the objective of this project? You're able to provide that to them. What is the mandate for the project? What is the project, what is the aim of the project and all that? It's not because the people you're providing for don't know it, but let's assume there's a new stakeholder in that organization who needs to read that report and who doesn't understand what the project objective is at that time. So you have to put it there so that that person understands the reports that they are reading. Okay, so because it might not be the same person you're providing for. If they have a new staff, like I said, they will need that information in that report also. And then you just give an executive summary to say, okay, in this phase, these are the things that we said we're going to do in this phase at this particular time. This is what we're focusing on doing at this particular time towards that timeline that we said we're going to. And then you look at the phase deliverable to tell them. So these are the deliverables we have for this sprint. Sorry, not the sprints now, for this phase that we're going to deliver. And then you give them an update. What has been completed, percentage of what has been completed to what has not been completed. You're able to provide them that. And you have the responsibility also of giving them any risk or issue analysis. So your risk and issue management, you're able to bring it in. That there's a foreseen risk of this. What is the mitigating factor that needs to be put in place? Who is the owner of that risk? And what is that person doing towards that risk? What is the timeline to resolve that risk? You're able to put it there. You should be able to put it there also, so that the stakeholders are aware. You're not just surprising them when that risk become an issue. Okay, you've carried them along to say, oh, there is a risk of this that might happen if this and this and this and this are not done. So they are aware of it. And then going forward, definitely you'll be telling them, giving them updates about those risks. That's why I do mine at the end of every sprint, because all those risks, if they are not mitigated, or if the mitigating action that has been put in place is not working, I need to, before the end, I provide that report. I'm meeting with my line manager to say, okay, this that we've put in place is not going to work. Are we talking to the person involved? Maybe it's a stakeholder that is involved. Maybe it's a vendor that is involved, the third party that is involved, and all that, and seeing how we can, manage that risk so that it doesn't become an issue. Now, it is not all risks that might not become an issue. There are some that your hands are tied, they become an issue. It happens. You're working with we're working in an uncertain environment. So when they become an issue, what is the impact to that project? What is the impact with the timeline? What is the cost impact and all that? You want to put all that in your report, because it's not something, like I said, you're just telling them about when it happens. It's something they've been aware of, and you've been keeping them informed. So when it happens, okay, they are prepared for it. They know that it might happen. Who does the cost fall on? If it's a risk that is from the clients, the stakeholders side themselves, there's some dependency, some data or something like that that you needed, and you've been asking and asking, and they're not providing, and you've been putting it in your reports. You've been, having one-on-one or one-to-one with the person that is meant to provide that. You have a name, and you've been reaching out to that person. Maybe they have another protocol in their own organization that is bringing about the delay in getting that. All those things you've been putting in your report, so that when it becomes an issue, like I said, the stakeholders are aware, and they're able also to take responsibility that, okay, so this is our fault and all that. If it's going to impact cost, you put everything in there that, okay, because of this that has happened, there's going to be an extension to this project because of, this issue that has happened and all that. So it's going to affect cost. If we extend the timeline, definitely it's going to affect cost, because if you're extending it maybe for a month or for 2 sprints and all that, you need to pay everybody that is working, for those 2 sprints on that particular project. Normally, there are contingencies that are put in place. So if your contingency is able to cover that cost for that 2 months, that 2 sprints, you're able to tell them also that, oh, it's going to be covered with the contingency, plan, cost that we have in place and everything. If it can't cover it, if it covers some and can't cover all, everything, you need to make them aware, so that if they are going to provide the difference and all that, you've given them all the information and they are aware. So it's not something that is just being you're just bringing to them all of a sudden and all that. It's something they've been aware of because you've been putting it in your status report. Also, you're able to use your metrics. Your velocity chart is a good metrics to use for your stakeholders. Sprint burndown chart might not work for your stakeholders, because really, it's not the thing that might work for people that are the audience for your sprint report. For your status report, your velocity chart is a good one. There is another chart you can generate that, like I said, you put all the epics there. You're able to put the percentages of the epics that have been completed, the percentages of work that is remaining. You can generate that through Excel. the chart, Excel chart. You can generate it also through Power BI, a very powerful tool. You can generate it also through that. But those are the charts they want to see. They want to see the particular picture or the particular epic, where it is. And then you're able to use that chart to analyze, to tell them that based on the fact that our timeline is at so time, and we've done 98% or we've done 89%, remaining 11% to be completed at this particular time, and knowing that our timeline is in maybe a month's time and everything, you're giving them assurance that that particular one would be delivered. So it's possible that you're working on more than one epic for that project. Let's assume you're working on 2 or 3 different epics for that project. They are in your chart, with the completed, the remaining, and their percentages on top of them and everything. You're able to provide them. Those are the chart. That's what they understand. That is what they want to see. And then, like I said, you analyze that chart that you've shown them. So you're not just showing them a chart that they won't understand. You're analyzing it also to let them know towards completion and progress towards the timeline. That's their own. They just want to know, are you going to deliver these things for us? Also, like I said, in the phase deliverable updates, also the things that are completed already, you're able to list them and put completed. And then the ones that are not completed, also you're able to list them and say, oh, still in progress, things like, so they know what is completed in what they're expecting and what is remaining. And there are times when they can negotiate to say, okay, for those ones that are remaining, I think they're just good to have. They are not really, they won't impact, they won't stop our business from going on if we don't have them. So that's fine. If we can finish them towards the timeline, that's fine. If we can't finish them towards the timeline, that's okay. You can even use that to negotiate, what you deliver and everything and all that. Okay, so like I said, also your budget status, I've explained that when I was explaining the risk and the issues. You want to also explain that to them, where your budget is going to be impacted in any way due to risk or issues that you have in place. You also want to give them, kind of a status on that also. And then an overview of the next phase. Okay, especially if your report comes at the end of a phase, you're looking at the next phase. What are in this phase that they like, the ones that they said, oh, they're good to have. We can have them a bit later on, in the year and everything and all that. If you're going to factor them into your next phase, you're able to bring it in. And then the focus for the next phase also, you're also able to bring that in to say, okay, for the next phase, as you have said, these are the things and everything that we've put in place. If they look at that report and they feel that, okay, well, we know we agree that this is the things for next phase, but things have moved on, we don't want this for the next phase again. This is what is the in thing with our competitors, and that is what we want to focus on also, so that we can compete, in the marketplace very well with these things and all that. And then there will be a meeting schedule, to discuss that new change that they are bringing in, the change management and all that. You're able to you might not be the one doing your change management. That might be your BA doing it, but you're aware of it. You're bringing your BA into that meeting so that what needs to be done is done. The document, it has to be documented so that they don't come back to say, oh, we didn't say that. So it has to be properly documented, and that can be done by you, either you, the ADM, depending on who is doing it in your organization, or if your BA is the one doing the change management, they're able to do it. But it's a good thing to have a knowledge of how it is done, how the document looks, and how it is done. Also, if you end up being the one doing it, most organizations have a kind of a template in that all you have to do is just to get the information, fill it, and you can even use it at that meeting, because you know what needs to be in the document, and those are the questions you're asking, so that you put the right thing in the document for them. That's just by the way, but those are some of the things that your reports would help you to get from the stakeholders. Okay, now we want to look at just some few tips in creating a good report, either for a status report or like I said, the sprint report. Okay, so these are some of the tips for a good report. I've talked about the number of pages. Your report shouldn't be more than, like I said, 2 to 3, depending on what the contents are. The content would depict really visualization goes a long way with stakeholders rather than reading. They don't want to be reading long paragraphs. They don't want to read, scroll, and all that and everything. They just want to see a chart that is simple to read, that you've analyzed even maybe at the bottom, so that they understand what that chart is saying without you having to be there to explain. But some of the reports you might not be there. You might just send it through emails, to them, that they have to read, and you don't want them calling you. Like my stakeholder had to do and everything. It was sent by email and all that, but he sent it back to me with a comment, asking what things and everything, which is not really a good thing. I will tell you that it wasn't a good thing. It was the first that I did, but it wasn't a good thing. And then from then on, I understood what he wanted to see, in what language he wanted to see it, and I was able to provide that. And there were some of the things that I put in paragraph initially at that first report sent to him. And when he said, "Oh, I didn't understand what this was saying," I turned it into a chart which would give him a better understanding. And he had the understanding, he wanted at the end of the day for that. Okay, so the number of pages really matters. The information, like I said, that you provide, there should be both text and charts. Don't do just text alone, just paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. Yourself, it will be cumbersome to read. It's not a novel that you are relaxed reading and all that. Is a report. So it's better to put both, because the graphical representation will give a better understanding to the paragraph that you've put. Any text that you've written there, that graphical representation or visual representation will give a better understanding to the person looking at it. Another good tip is clarity. The information should be simple and straight to the point. You're not trying to win them over with your big English. You're not trying to win them over, with your technicality or the technical words that you're using. Because like I said, they are not technical people, especially if they are stakeholders. They are not technical people. They just want to know about their product. They just want to know about the business they've brought to you. So using technical technical language, shouldn't use the word, technical languages might not sell with them. They won't understand. And like I said, for the example of myself that I gave, he just said, "What is this?" He wasn't even saying, "Oh, can you explain?" He just came back with for all the slides he couldn't understand. He just came back with, "What is this? What is this? What is this?" and everything. And then I had to break it down, to his level for him. It wasn't while I was doing it, I was trying to, catch his attention, or, I was just doing it with my own knowledge, my technical knowledge, without looking at the person that I'm sending the message to. Okay. So that is one of the things. Your audience matters. And I realized that when he did that, that was when I realized that I wasn't really communicating. Okay. So please, let's be clear, simple, and straight to the point. That's another good tip for a good report. And then the sections. Divide your sections into manageable sections. You'll see when we go to the sample ones that we want to look at, it has to be manageable. It has to tell a story. It has to be something that is understandable and it is organized. So they are knowing that, oh, I'm moving from this point to this point. Okay, so that relates to this point. It has to be interwoven and tell a story. Your report has to tell a story that your audience can understand. Okay. Bear with me, please. We want to look at the audience now of your story. So who are the audience of a report, either for a sprint report or your status report? Who are your audience? Who are your audience? Okay, so let's look at it from the stakeholders' point of view. Like I said, it depends on your project. It depends on who you're reporting to. Okay, so but both those who are present in your review and those who are not present, to attend the sprint review, or anyone that has a vested interest in the project you're doing is seen as your stakeholder. So you are a stakeholder also in the project that you're doing. Your product owner is a stakeholder. Your organization is a stakeholder, and then the client also, the external client also is a stakeholder in the projects that you're working on, and they can be audience to the reports, that you provide for them. Like I said, when you're having your review, there might be some stakeholders that would be able to attend. There might be some that are not able to attend, maybe because it's clashing with something else. They might be on holiday and all that, and you want them to come back and have that report. It might be emailed to them so that by the time they come back, they would be able to see. There are some stakeholders also that if it is on-site even on site or online or remote meeting and all that, they might send a representative from their organization. They might send maybe their um assistant or one of their team members, to attend that review and all that. So for your report, that you don't want them to go and report what I don't want to use the word they don't understand. But no matter what they go and report, you also want to make sure that you sent a report to that person that was meant to be there that couldn't be there, so that you're passing either the same message, and in the situation where they have not, because they intended, they've distorted the information in any way, at least your report is giving the right picture to the stakeholder that wasn't able to attend that meeting. So, and then for record purposes also, that's why you send your report also. So it's there that they are aware, especially in a situation for the ADMs where you're giving a status regarding risk and issues and all that. You want to cover your back, you want to put that in a report and send to them. So that in case it comes up to say, oh, but we're not aware and all that, you have your email anyway to back up to say, oh, I sent you an email for the report and all that. It won't be your fault that that person didn't read a report, that they know it's coming and that you've sent to them, especially if you get a kind of a response back from them, say, oh, thanks for sending this and all that and everything. If he says thanks and he didn't read it well, that's down to him. But you've covered yourself and you've covered your organization, that what needed to be done, you've done it. So your stakeholders are, like I said, it could be the organization itself is a stakeholder, and then the external client also bringing the business in is a stakeholder. You yourself, because you have vested interest in that product, you are a stakeholder. Your product owner also is a stakeholder in that project. Okay, so and then your product owner, definitely you've carried your product owner along because he's a member of your team. Remember, your product owner is a member of the Scrum team, so you already carry them on along with what you're doing, with all the everything in that report. They are aware of it. But like I said, for record purposes, the product owner is also aware of it. And then your product owner, once they have the report, when the stakeholder gets in touch with them, either the business or the external stakeholder, the client gets in touch with them with any particular thing in the report, they understand. So you might not be there as the person that the stakeholder will get in touch with. It might be your product owner they're getting in touch with. So when your product owner, who is the voice of the customer, understand what is in the product, they're able to explain it. They're able to explain it better to the stakeholder. They might even be the one going into the stakeholders meeting with that report to explain things, so they have an understanding of it. And if they are not clear of anything, definitely they would have asked you. But I believe they would understand because they are part of the meeting or the sprint from the beginning to the end. And then you have your team members also have access to that report also. So for your team, you can put your sprint report or your status report in your wiki page. Access to it. So let's assume you have a new team members who you've onboarded, who needs to know about, okay, what has been done previously on that project and everything. They're able to go into the wiki, your wiki page, and then find those reports there, just for them to familiarize themselves with what is going on, what has been going on, and update themselves so that they have a shared understanding and they're up to date with information with all the other members of the team. So your team members also they have access to that. Like I said, it motivates team members when they see reports of things that has been done. It also can be used, your report also can be used as part of your retro discussion, especially where you have charts and where your team has not done so well. You're able to look at that chart, you're able to talk about, inspect it, and then reflect on how best, what improvement needs to be put in place in order to be able to work better. So it's a motivational report also for your team members if we're able to use it to improve, or it motivates them where we're able to deliver everything. It motivates us to go on better in what we need to do also. Okay, so those are some of your that's for the sprint report. For the status report, definitely your stakeholders, like I said, will be your project sponsor. I've talked about your product owner, okay, and then your team members or the development team in your own case are there also. The Scrum Master can also gain from the report of an ADM. You know, when we're looking at the risk, when we're looking at the issues and all that, if there's anyone that falls within the Scrum process or the Agile process and everything, you feel is the process that is is a risk that might end up being an issue, the ADM is able to share that report with the Scrum Master, because the Scrum Master is the Scrum process facilitator, if I can put it that way, so that you're able to meet with your team and then you're able to discuss how to improve, you know, that risk that is happening, so that it doesn't become an issue. Okay. So, and then management, like I said, the business, the organization also is an audience, and then other project managers also can be an audience for a status report, you know, where we have multiple projects running parallel together within an organization. Other project managers may benefit, you know, from understanding the progress and the challenges faced by their peers, so you're able to compare. I wouldn't you want to use the word compare notes, but you know, they're able to talk together, and then if anyone has gone through the same challenge that you are having, they're able to give you an kind of an idea of what you do. I know there are no two project teams that are the same, but they might have similar challenges that they are facing. They might have similar risks that they're facing and all that, and then they're able to advise, if I can put it that way, or just share knowledge really, so that if you're able to use the same method or process they've used, and then be able to improve your own method kind of, or be able to mitigate a risk that they've had similar thing to prior, maybe in, in about two or previous sprints they've got here, it's share that document with them also. And like I said, it's important for you as a delivery manager, an agile delivery manager, to make sure that your report's content is tailored, and the level of detail is suited to the specific needs and the interests of the intended members. And that's not just for the ADM alone, but even for the Scrum Master who is providing the sprint report. Is specific, it's detailed, and it's just specific to communicates the project status, and then you're able to use it, like I've said, to facilitate decision making among the stakeholders. I think I've explained that while I was talking about where there is a risk maybe coming from them, or even with your reports, they're able to talk about some good to haves that they've put in there, which are not really must have, and that won't impact their business if it is not delivered at the timeline that they've put in place. So you're able to use your report, you're able to use stakeholders, and manage them, engage with them also as an ADM, either you or your line manager, depending on who meets with the stakeholders, to have that discussion with them. Okay, so we want to look at some samples now. So this is for a sprint report, and this is page 1, just a sample of a sprint report, and this is page 1. You know, when I was talking, I said you will have your project name. So for this is this is ABCD project, and it is sprint 10, and then you can see the sprint period over there is covering from 25th of July 2022 to 12th of August 2022. That is the period. Okay, and you said, I said it that you have to put it in manageable um sections, which one can see, and it's presentable. It's not everywhere. I didn't put the project name and sprint name here, and then the period is at the bottom over here. Everything they can read it together. They go in line, they are in sequence, they are lined together. So you need to be able to divide your report up like that in the pages that you have, and then you can see the list of all the sprint backlog items. That's the ID, that's the type of work item it is. They are all user stories. If there are bugs there, we're able to put the bugs there. And then that's the title. And your title shouldn't be too long. Everything is just, like I said, simple and short. So for this one, is saying sample event menu, basic sub menu, standard sub menu. Those are the things that the stakeholder wanted us to work on during that time, and that was listed out there, so that they have the title. They know that, okay, this was the thing, these were the things we discussed about that we're going to have. And then you also put the efforts that it took the team members, to be able to do it. The total effort for that particular sprint, you put it there, and then that's the status. This one is unfinished, unfinished, unfinished. These ones are finished, and that one is unfinished. And then on the comment aspect, you're able to put the reasons why the unfinished ones were unfinished. It says unstable environment, unstable environment. That was why the ones that were not finished were not finished. And then the ones that were finished, you could see it says completed. Okay, and then you are coming to this aspect of it to, that's another section that we've created. That's for the team's capacity. You can see all the team members' name listed there. You can see the plan days. So initially when we were planning, that was the number of days. This one says 8 days, is going to do 8 days, 10 days, 10 days, 10 days, 9 days. You can see all that. But then worked days, now the actual worked days, you can see that person still carried the 8 through, this person still carried the 10 days through, but here you have a 7 days. Okay, and here you have a 4 days instead of a 9 days, maybe because they have an emergency and all that and everything. So you're able to put that in if that is one of the factors that affected the sprint. But in this situation, it wasn't. What affected was an unstable environment, but we're still able to put that information in the report. Okay, and then you can see this section is talking about the issue. It said 60% of the stories committed to sprint could not be completed due to the test environment being unstable. So the environment that is unstable is the test environment, but they're able to put it in the issue here. It says this was resolved a day to the end of sprint. And knowing that was resolved a day to the end of sprint, there was no magic they were going to do in order to finish what needed to be done. And that's the reason why. So it wasn't just, oh, we had an unstable environment, maybe nothing was done. This issue now is giving more information about that unstable environment that happened. Okay, and then at the bottom here, you could see the sprint highlight. It said total committed effort was 41. They completed 18 out of that 41. 75% of the story relating to price packages were completed. You could see that everything that had to do with price packaging was complete. So this is an highlight of all the information that have been provided. And then it says all uncompleted stories will spill over and be prioritized in the next sprint. So that's just a highlight that is being given to the audience about what happened during that sprint, and then the mitigating action that has been put in place for the issues that they had during that sprint. They've put it there also. At the second page of our reports, that's where we put the chart in. There you can see the chart. It says 42% of what was committed. That's the sprints burn down. 42% of what was committed into sprint were done, and there was a total scope increase of 3. So what they committed initially and what you have there was an increase there, and then you could see that all through the sprint. Those are the number of days at the bottom here, and over here you have the efforts, or number of stories. If this is just talking about the count of work items, and that you can see over here is the velocity for that team. They're looking at how they've worked, over a couple of, I think this is 6 sprints over 6 iterations. You can see what they've done, and over here is telling them that their average velocity is 4. So it's saying that going forward, the team should only be able to take 4 stories into the sprints and all that. So the team can use this, in order to have during their retro to say, oh, okay, so that means we're not working well. That is why our velocity is telling us that with our capacity, what we can just take into the sprint is 4-story, because what your velocity looks at is how you're working, what has been planned versus what was actually completed, and then it gives you a reading of what your average velocity should be. So as a Scrum Master, you should be able to read the chart. You should be able to look at your chart and give the information on your chart, all the components that are on it, what the components on it are talking about. You should be able to explain it to your audience or to your team members. And at the bottom here, we can see also the review feedback update concerning this particular project. So prior, there was a feedback given for a sprint review that was done. And what the team has done in the current sprint, you can see the update they've given. It says request to change landing page banner to moving images has been carried out. Request to change footer background color to royal blue is pending, awaiting further clarification. So maybe they're waiting for the particular royal blue. There are different royal blues now. The particular royal blue, or they're expecting that color code to come from the client. That's why that is, we are waiting for that clarification. And over here, you have the overview of sprints, because, this is a sprint 10 report. You have an overview of sprint 11. Okay, so the person could have just said overview of the next sprint, but it sounds better if it says overview of sprint 11. And then you're able to put that there to say complete stories on sample event menu and sub menu on the header, which are the things that were not completed in the previous sprint due to the unstable environment. And then it says create multiple payment gateway. So after completing the things we're carrying over from sprint 10, the next thing we're going to do is to make sure that we create multiple payment gateway. So this could be an epic on its own, it could be a feature on its own, but that's why I said you don't go to the nitty-gritty. So they don't need to list down all the stories that are under that particular goal. So this could be the sprint goal that they are taking into, that is going to be worked on during the next sprint. So that is the second page of your sprint report. Okay, so that's just a two-page project, and you could see that after going through the explanation, it's detailed, it's picked an overview of everything that has happened. We've been able to talk about, the sprint planning there. We've been able to talk about the review there. We've been able to talk, I think the only thing that wasn't there is the retro. If the retro action, which is another I want to add, it's good to have an overview of your retro also, especially once you've had your retro before that report has been given out, to say, oh, these are some of the improvements we've put in place to work on. These are the team wins and things like that. You want to put it there also, to I won't use the word sell the team, but just to let the stakeholder or your audience know that, okay, these are the wins also, okay, where the team is improving, is maturing, and all that. Say good things about the team also, and then the improvement that has been put in place also, you're able to also to put it on that report. Okay, so for the ADM, this is a sample of a project status report. Like I said, it's not cast in stone. Okay, so this one is just a one-page status report. And you can see there the project name is there, the project code, if the user code is there. Okay, the project manager, this is putting the project manager, or over here could be the ADM is put there. The status date is also put there, and that is the project summary. Like I said, you're able to give a summary of your project, okay, what the project is all about and everything. You're able to put that. They just give them a summary of what the project is all about, what you're doing at that particular time and everything. So for this one, he's saying the development is on track to complete on time. The process of planning for next step has begun. The quality control is postponed because the tester is on holiday. You see, it's giving them, okay, where we are right now. That is the summary of the project status. Is just giving that overview there. And then over here is coming to look at you can see for the budget spent, it says 20% of the budget has been spent. The status there is green. Green tells you that's okay, that's good to go. Then the scope delivered is 30%. Okay, out of maybe 100%, 30% of the scope for that particular period is delivered, and you can see that it's in that should be amber is there. And then the estimated date for that project is November 1st of November, and it's showing in red. And red means that it doesn't look visible that is going to happen. Okay, that's what the red is. So that's a RAG status that you've just provided for, the stakeholders over there. And like I said, the ADM can use a velocity, chart also. So it's looking at the team's velocity. That's their average velocity. It's looking at the velocity over about, this should be about 3 sprints. This one is very loaded. That's why it's 2, that's 62, and that's 69. Okay. And then is what normally happens is you total them, you sum them up and then divide by 3. That will give you your average velocity. So it's saying the team's average velocity is 46. And then it's looking at the projected date here of what needed to be done. Okay, so each bar would represent kind of the sprint, and when is looking at the timeline with that velocity is able to project a date when it will finish. So it's looking at the team's velocity, and it's saying that if they continue this way, that particular phase or quarter will be completed November 15. And remember, the estimated date that they're expecting is what? November 1st of November. So that's why your RAG status is red here, to say if we're looking at what the chart is telling us here, that this is when we will complete, then we won't be able to meet that November 1st that is there. So you can see that this chart is not just written all in words and all that is given. And even though he's giving these charts, look at the bottom here, he's able to explain also. He says tax delayed and risk and mitigation strategy. Tax delayed, the security testing couldn't be completed as planned, and we know why, because it has said it here that the tester was on holiday. Okay, so that would impact what needed to be done. And then he's looking at the recent accomplishments, because you don't want to give a status report that is all negative, negative, negative. If I'm a stakeholder and you are bringing all and it's negative, negative, definitely you want to be realistic, you want to be objective, but please don't make it all gloomy and just negative, negative. So you have to talk about some accomplishments also, give them some good information also. And then you can see the recent accomplishments and all that. Looking at the budget, over here it says that's the IT cost over there. The forecast is 50 and they've just spent 34, which is good. For the vendor is the forecast was 35 and they've overshoot. You can see that in red over there. The software cost is there. The forecast is 76 and they've just spent $4,500. So that is all good. And then that's the contingency, the buffer that has been put in place was $45,000 and they've just spent $23,000 out of that. So their total is 206, but because of that vendor that has overshoot, you can see that has impacted the budget over there also. So these are all, like I said, and then definitely they would have been providing an information to the stakeholders to let them be aware why that vendor overshoots came up. It could be because things are expensive, there's a recession, so the vendor has increased their money, and all that and everything. All those information you will put in place, and these are the planned activity. So going forward, this is things that have been planned. These are what we plan to do: security testing for the website, because we couldn't do that because of the person that is on holiday. You want to development of key components, testing of the components, and then any other thing that you want to put, you put it there. And then this is your risk part, the risk management that you want to put in place. What is the risk? Bottleneck in QA. Okay, John pulled in from production support, new hire, Vicky due to start on Tuesday. You're able to give that information. So because of this person that is on holiday, that is a risk. What are the mitigation action that you've put in place? So they are pulling somebody else they're borrowing resources from another from the production team in order to come in to support, and they are quickly also they need to hire somebody who might be just a temp staff to come in and cover based on this person being on holiday, or maybe they feel, okay, this person alone working is not enough. We need maybe 2 resource, QA resource, in order to finish what we need to do. That has been put in place, and any other thing that needs to be put in place, you're also able to put it there. So this is just a 1-page report sample. Okay, so I'm just going to show you us another, which is a 2-page, because earlier I talked about part of your content being your executive summary. So this is another one that you can give. For this one, you can see it's saying the key delivery milestone. This is Q1 that we're talking about. The RAG status is amber, is saying that at this moment it's not green, so it's the risk is medium of not delivering. Is medium, is showing you amber there. And then it's talking about the date. What's the date for this delivery? Q1 delivery is the end of February. So most times it's better to be specific. So what is end of February? So I can as well decided that 25th is end of February, 26th is end of February. So you want to be specific with the date and put the date there also. And then you can see the objective here, the Q1 objective. What is the objective we have for Q1? You can see the team has put that there. That's the executive summary, that for the first quarter in this year, these are the things we want to see. We want to see an end-to-end order process. We want to see the mobile application of that product. We also want to see a new feature, which is manage recurring bills. Those are the things that are being planned for the quarter, for the for first quarter release. Those are the things that have been planned. That's the executive summary. And then coming over here, this is the second page. You're able to do your RAID analysis, and you can see the keynotes for the RAID analysis there, that red is critical, amber is high, yellow is medium, and then green is low. Okay, and you can see the RAID summary there to say there is just one of them, which is the red one there is just one, which is the red is just one. And then you're coming here to give it in more detail. Okay, so that would be the number of analysis you've made. Those are the description. That's the type of analysis it is issue. We have an issue, and then we have a risk. Okay, there, and then the owner of those issues. So for this particular issue is the business that owns it. For this, it could be the client, it could be your management, and then for this particular one, that's the name of the person that owns it. That's the name of the person that owns it. And then the impact, what impact is it going to have on that project? What impact is this particular issue or risk going to have on that particular project? And what is the status? Is critical. What is the mitigation or mitigating action that needs to be put in place in order to kind of resolve it? And you can see that those are put also. So this is just a sample also of your status report that you might have as an ADM, which, as you can see, is quite different from the Scrum Masters one, who is given a sprint report, because you're looking at yours from a higher level rather than from sprint to sprint. Yours is more of covering the quarter rather than sprint by sprint. Okay, so that is the end of our topic on creating reports, either sprint reports or status reports. Any questions from anyone?
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh. Am I still here with, am I in space, or am I here? Thank you so much. Okay, so Laomi, I'm not sure. Do we want to stop this recording and record the question and answers, or do we want to?
Okay,
IJ,
so
let's stop this one.
I have become Laomi. So
Oh, I'm not sure she's not here. Okay, IJ. Oh, IJ, you're the one recording.
yes.
Okay, please, let's stop this one and then we'll record the questions that we might have.
So I'm going to punch the stop button or the pause. Which one?
No, not the pause one. Stop, so that we can start
Okay.
another recording.